In the temporal justice system, the Star Trek Wars podcast is represented by two separate yet equally important groups. The investigators who prosecute time crime, and the instigators that cause it. These are their stories.
Good morning, Chloe. Ate so much Popeyes.
Oh.
Don't feel good at all. Any hits?
Oh, you bet. 3 scratch-offs worth $15 American.
Not the scratch-offs. Jordan's next location.
Oh, right. Yeah, I should definitely get started on that.
Started? It's the end of your shift.
It is? Time flies.
Okay, now you done it. Here he comes.
Chloe, you know the rules on temporal punning. Pay up.
Do you accept scratch-offs? Hold up, we got a lock.
Where?
More like when.
Nice.
May 5th, 2014.
May the 5th be with us. Star Wars.
Well, May the 5th is certainly with Jordan.
5 weeks after his first visit to the past.
That'd be Star Trek Wars Episode 9, but why there?
Looks like this time he jumped into the Voyager segment.
Cross-referencing. So, seems your old pal Jordan is interested in the episode Prime Factors.
Shame he wasn't more interested in time factors. All right, thank you, Jordan, for your cooperation. Recess is over. You may be seated. You may the 5th be seated, as a matter of fact. Does that mean anything to you?
I can't say it does.
Funny, because just a little over a month ago, after you illegally time-visited Star Trek Wars, you showed up again on Cinco de Mayo 2014. You break the temporal directive once. Shame on you. But you break it twice. That's double shame, sir. You're not going to shame me again. Now, before I submit the audio from your illegal time incursion into Voyager this week as evidence for your upcoming time trials, I just want to know one thing, Jordan. Why prime factors?
I plead the 5th.
Order. Calm down, everybody. I know I shouldn't have had this late 20th century courtroom audience throwing mud at you.
Very ruckus crowd.
Very ruckus. We will have order. Calm down. I know that was pretty funny. But, Jordan, you will answer the question.
No, I think this is a solid Voyager episode from the early season. Looking at season 1, I think this is one of the standouts for me. This is a very strong Janeway episode. I think this does a very good job of highlighting a lot of the crew, mainly Janeway, Kim, Torres, and Tuvok, and just kind of the dynamics between the crew. This is kind of a turning point to an extent of the Maquis and Starfleet officers working together. So I thought this was a solid episode, and just does something unique that you don't really see in other Star Trek episodes, with the way that they basically get prime directived by another alien race. So
now, before I play the audio that proves your time crimes, Jordan, we're going to take a short break to hear from today's fake sponsor. We'll be right back. Have you ever been given a shuttlecraft by your rich cousin that owns a moon, but halfway through the maiden voyage, your big floppy genitalia ears discover a bomb on board and kaboom! You're back to 1940s Roswell. I will fight for you. Don't delay. Hail me, Frank Quasar, the strong-armist. If you've ever been put on trial for committing adultery from another life, hail me now. Yes, I am a Vulcan, and yes, my name is Frank Quasar. And no, that's not my Sirach given name. But it seemed logical to change it to stand out from other medical shuttle-chasing lawyers. You try finding someone in the directory when everybody's name starts with an S and an apostrophe is tossed in somewhere. They call me the strong armist because I'm strong like Armus. Not strong power-wise, but strong in fighting for your rights. I'm not pure malicious evil incarnate like the real Armus, though my opponents in court may disagree. Are they giving you the death penalty for trespassing? Well, that seems awfully excessive to me. Hailing frequencies open. Call me now.
Yeah. Frank Quasar, they call him the strong armist. Flawlessly logical, but still bringing that charmness. Frank is all the help you will ever need. Got more intimidation in a finger than in an entire Malcolm Reed. Read alert! Whoa, you said he sentenced you to die for just falling on some flowers? Yeah, man, that sounds a little ish. Damn, son! And they really call that justice! Have you been blamed for losing a stargazer? Yeah, but it was the Ferengi, man. Well, shit, son! Best hail Frank Quasar! Frank Quasar! Yeah! Frank's a Vulcan from the streets that cannot tell a lie. He's a Klingon in the sheets. All hotties may imply that he's the man you want when you got no alibi. So hail him today at 1-800. Let's fly!
All right. Computer, recall audio from Star Trek Wars Episode 9, Disrespectful, Flatulent, and Irrational. Stardate May 5th, 2014. Starting at the 44-minute, 20-second mark. Play on my command.
Working. Audio recovered.
Play the clip.
And then Seska. Oh my God, I wanted to reach to the screen and just strangle this woman. All I kept thinking is, what is your problem?
She's flatulent.
She's disrespectful. She's just
flatulent.
Irrational. And what's the word? You know, she's just
flatulent.
Ah! Oh, God. All right, shoot. Get out. Get out.
No,
Get out.
it's me from episode 7.
Yeah. Jordan, they can't know that. We don't want to damage the timeline any more than possible.
Shit.
I'd rather damage my marriage by being weird and secretive at times like this. But luckily we got them out.
Okay.
Oh, man. What am I going to do now? I told him last time you were just some dumb nerd after my Star Trek Playmate action figures.
That works.
Yeah, I told him I beat you up because I'm a cool alpha sportsman and I threw you out. But I'll figure something out. The reason you're here again, and I'm not throwing you right back out again. But Jordan, you are here at a pivotal moment in Star Trek Wars. Actually, we all really seem to like this episode of Voyager. So good. In fact, I think we all might even give it as high as 6s.
Oh, well.
It's true.
Wow.
To put that in perspective, right before you arrived, Connor also gave Move Along Home a 6. So it's in pretty high company.
I should have come sooner.
So you're here for prime factors, I take it.
I am.
I hope you have some of them delicious pros and cons dialed up.
I hope you're hungry. Well,
This piggy wants to eat.
I take that back. Voyager gets prime directive. It's the reversal. They get put in another person's shoes for once without being on their high horse. This is a little different because this culture is so nonchalant about it. He's like, oh, of course, I'll talk to the council. Just like, this guy is such a jerk. But it's just interesting seeing them, a very TNG feel to it, being in the conference room and discussing it. There's even a scene like where Janeway is kind of looking out the window and the camera's focused on her and you can hear what's going on in the background a little bit, but it's really focused on Janeway and what she's thinking, which is kind of what this episode is. It's a very Janeway-centric episode. And it's one of the first chances that they have early on to get home. And that's obviously very important. You know, it's probably not going to happen this early in the show, but it's, you know, it's a story that I think is strong enough, even though they don't get home. Very much like a Gilligan's Island effect with Voyager, to that extent. When the show goes 7 seasons, you know, in season 1 they're not getting home. So, spoiler alert.
Did Gilligan get home in season 7? Maybe in the last 20 seconds of the episode, and everybody waves at him and fireworks goes off, and it's...
I honestly don't remember how Gilligan's Island ends.
Back then, they probably didn't have finales. They just
ended.
Did episodes until they stopped.
I'm going to have to do some research.
Please do. And please visit again in the future.
A culture that values stories, I think, is kind of interesting. The fact that was the one thing. They have all this technology, all these comforts. They can go anywhere. But like the stories and just how serious she takes things, she's like, "Oh, I won't tell your story to anyone without permission." I think that was kind of unique to the Sicarians. I always like how many more characters there are in the early seasons of Voyager, because you have this ship. We're going to be stuck with these characters, and there's not a whole lot of new characters introduced outside of the pilot, really, aside from, a few later on. But seeing Seska, Carrie, Jonas, we get a few other characters later on in season 1 that we see. I thought that was kind of cool. I wish they would have kept a few more of them. They mentioned the Delaney sisters here. It would have been cool to see them.
Wait, we never see the Delaney sisters?
I never said that.
What are we even doing here?
I like that there's still a little tension with the Maquis members of the crew and wanting to do whatever it takes to get home, and Seska kind of playing that role, and B'Elanna kind of being caught in the middle, and then Carrie is pretty much like the Starfleet person. So you kind of have 3 different characters and motivations and backgrounds where these people are coming from. And then Tuvok being the one to make the black market deal is a fascinating twist. And that I remembered from this episode. I actually watched this, I want to say like a year and a half ago. And that's part of the reason I picked it is I hadn't seen it in quite a long time. I'd kind of forgotten it. And it really shocked me how solid of a first season episode it was. And I really did feel for Janeway. And I mean, the end scene is super powerful. Her talking to Tuvok and really being betrayed by 2 senior members, Torres and Tuvok. And just like the pain on her face and in her voice, and her being in a situation where there's not much she can do. Like, she can't afford to not have these people on her crew, but she makes it very clear, like, this can't happen again. I need to be able to trust you, especially to Tuvok. So this episode gives Kate Mulgrew a lot to work with, and it highlights her desire to get home, but basically being unable to bend her ethics or Starfleet principles to do that in this scenario. And just a lot of facial expression from Kate Mulgrew. I think this gives a lot of character to Janeway and kind of the struggle that she's going to have going forward. Neutral Zone wise, it's kind of terrifying to have a whole planet of Chick-fil-A employees. Like, it's like, my pleasure, my pleasure. It's just like, okay, this is weird.
They're lucky they didn't arrive on Sunday. No one would have
been there. Doesn't make much sense that a race that can travel to any planet within 40,000 light years in an instant
has hair like that. Yeah, I agree.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly where I was going. And it's a tourist hotspot. How would they have a hard time finding new stories? That is kind of puzzling to me. Like, with the way this story is told, that's not something I really thought about until when I watched it this time. So my score a little bit lower than I thought I would have given it, because that is a pretty big loophole that they don't even really address. But that's pretty much all the pros that I have and Neutral Zone stuff.
Awesome. Yeah. Since, if it's Enterprise or Voyager, I try to not have any cons. I want to save that for my son. But I did think of extra pros that I would never tell him, because it might persuade him into thinking other shows are good besides Deep Space Nine. So I do have some saved pros that I was just keeping to myself. I would love to tell you about.
Perfect. I'm all ears.
I also love the idea of a Starfleet crew coming against another species, having their own prime directive of non-interference and using it against them. I don't know why I somehow didn't pick up on that watching this in 2014, the year that it is now, and not mentioning it at all in the podcast. Because that's kind of a big deal that is actually not even subtle. They have a whole conference room discussion about how this is literally the prime directive, but in reverse. But I think that's great. We don't really see that happen in Star Trek very often because they're usually the more superior people. So I thought that was really cool and very different for Star Trek. And Seska. Like, I don't know much about this Seska lady. I remember vaguely from when I watched Voyager a little bit in and out in the 90s. I probably watched maybe a third of them when they actually aired, just enough to dip my toe in and be like, still hate it, and then dip back out. So I know a few things about Seska, but not everything. I love that she's pulling in the dematerialized zone heartstrings to get B'Elanna on board, especially because old lies are best when they have like kernels of truth. And she was believable there because she does care about the deaths that are happening in the demilitarized zone, just not the Maquis ones. And I think that's kind of cool. And yeah, I don't know much about her fate. I remember the Cardassian twist, the Chakotay baby daddy scandal, and her unfortunate alliance with those dirty Klingon hippies. But I don't remember her ultimate fate, so that's exciting, and I'm looking forward to it. I'm just hoping she gets a glorious send-off, and it's just not last seen unconscious on a floor, Sela style. But there's no way they would do that twice. Now, I'm not sure how I feel about the Tuvok twist. I don't hate it. In fact, I think I do like it, because I think it's explained pretty well why he did it. So it's a good twist, and then there is some kind of reason. Like you said, Janeway, she wants to get home. She wouldn't do it herself, but Tuvok also knows that, so is doing the logical thing and doing that for her. I get that. I also love how Janeway handles both him and Torres. Not with like a Cisco shout, but more of a stern and well-delivered, like real disappointment and maybe mild shock of betrayal in there too. Just, she can't believe that two senior staff have done this behind her back. And I think Kate Mulgrew delivers that perfectly. I don't think I liked this 2 days ago in 2014 when I watched this the first time. But now that I'm thinking about it, talking to you, Ronald Gutman, I think, was great as Laban.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I thought he's just a chill dude with silly string in his hair, but he's like just relaxed. He's friendly, but he's got the rules, and I think he's a pretty good leader and understandable. Like, we can't give away this technology, and is almost like the good guy, the protagonist this week to the Voyager crew.
Kind of, I was, until he reveals that he had no intentions of helping them and kind of led them on, and also led Janeway on as well. But
oh shit, that happened? I was probably making coffee. Yeah. But up until then, he was great.
Up until then, yeah, not too bad, I guess.
Now, I didn't come into this podcast with any bias, aside from DS9 being the greatest Trek series and hating Voyager and Enterprise without giving them a proper chance. That being said, though, I know we like to bash Voyager for mishandling the drama of having Maquis and a Starfleet crew on board and not really doing much with it. But I think this episode is all about that drama, and I think it should get props for that. Like, we're still in the early stages. Could they do more with this? Yeah, but they certainly made that forefront this week, and I thought they should get props for that. Sure. Oh, do you have one of them delicious next time on?
I do. I have some cons too.
Oh yeah, we didn't do cons. I'm so new at this. Of course, Jordan. Hit me with your cons.
But it's funny that your last con kind of, or what you were talking about, your pro plays into kind of my con, which is Janeway saying, "It's finally happening. The crews are getting along. After only 8 episodes with little to no tension, the crew has finally learned to work together." That's just kind of, very much her just saying that within the context of the episode, not knowing what's about to happen. But that is kind of the crux and issue with Voyager. But you're right, it is still very much alive in this episode, which I did like. But it was just kind of funny hearing Janeway say that. And then Janeway falling for this guy nearly instantly. Like, there's a scene where they almost kiss until she's interrupted by Harry Kim, who was also probably about to almost get kissed, but just could not help himself. And why that's one of the things too with season 1. Why give Janeway a fiance if she's going to try to hook up with the first nice guy, allegedly nice guy, she meets in the Delta Quadrant? Additionally, the only other person in this episode that gets like a love interest is Harry. He's also the only other main character who is engaged.
That's
it's kind of weird. I don't know.
Who can forget Libby?
Yes,
of course.
Exactly.
She's still fresh in my mind.
Yes, very, very fresh in mine as well. I can't speak of, fresh in my mind. I can't wait to see Carrie get home to his wife and 2 little boys.
Oh, come on. Now you're just spoiling things for me. I would definitely look forward to that.
But that's all the cons that I have. I really enjoyed this episode, even though I had watched it semi-recently. It's a really solid episode of Voyager.
And I can enjoy watching Voyager more going forward now that I can remove Carrie safely from the in danger list.
Oh,
so.
Absolutely. Nothing to see here. I did also do some yard work this week, and my string trimmer was giving me some issues. So I was taking the new string out, and I'm pretty sure that's what they use for these guys' hair. Like, that is pretty much exact. Like, it's all tangled mess. I'm just like, oh, they just pulled some of this out and stuck it in his head. That's exactly what it is.
Those guys can travel across the universe, but they struggle mowing their lawn.
Sure do. Keep some extra on you at all times, just in case.
Do you have a next time on, George?
I do. I'm going to rate this one.
Okay, so you do rating first.
I prefer it.
Okay, and then next time on.
Yeah.
I haven't done. I didn't do a next time on this week.
I understand. You're new at this. I'll give this 8 Chick-fil-A sandwiches, no pickles with American cheese, and a chocolate milkshake, which is what I get at Chick-fil-A. Next time on, you're not going to believe this. This isn't really going to make too much sense to you at this point, but the Matrix is plugged in and ready to go. But when B'Elanna and Seska turn their backs, 2 Ferengi, who are visiting Sikaris on shore leave, sneak into engineering and steal the device.
Huh. I'm sure that means something to somebody. Ferengi are hilarious.
That's all I got.
Okay. Talking to you about Voyager, I know I shouldn't change my score and contaminate the timeline further. So originally I planned on praising this as a good Voyager episode and showing it as much by giving it a 6, which is a 10 by Voyager rankings in season 1. And I'll probably have to stick to that. I don't want to pollute the timeline any further. But after talking to you and really thinking about it, I honestly think this is closer to a 7 or even an 8. I think I would give this. I think this is a really strong first season episode that tends to dismantle a lot of complaints some people might have about season 1 of Voyager. And I might just have to go on pretending that I have those same complaints. Just, I don't want to pollute the timeline. But yeah, this is a strong episode. I really enjoyed it. And like Andorian Incident last week, just kind of a great plot twist at the end and a really strong ending that kind of brings up the whole episode for me. It's kind of nice to talk to someone outside of my own echo chamber of hate. You opened my eyes a bit, friend. Maybe this podcast shouldn't be about trying to prove that Deep Space Nine is the best series, but to rather take this opportunity to embrace all Trek. Infinite diversity and infinite combinations. And what is diversity?
I believe it's an old wooden ship.
But a celebration of differences. But, that may take some time because it's 2014 and I'm really angry. I'm a really angry person at this time. But perhaps one day I'll bring in other people with fresh and different perspectives to help me remember Idic. But if that's all you have to say, friend, you are starting to glow dangerously orange again.
That might be the spray tan, but it's probably best if I go.
People with orange spray tans don't frighten me yet, friend, in 2014. But I hope you visit again in the future.
I'll see you again.
There he goes. Farewell. You beautiful stranger. All right. Come back in, guys. Would you believe that turns out he's not a burglar. His name is Jordan. He's my long lost brother. And he's very shy. So he demanded I throw you guys in a panic room the second he ever arrives. Sorry again. Are you angry? Because I gotta admit, that is quite the plot twist, though, huh?
I was surprised.
Yep, that was quite a turn at the end.
Yeah.
I like that.
It's not that I liked it. It's that I found it very interesting.
Yeah.
End of transmission.
Eric, is that you?
Order! So, how much damage did your temporal interference cause our prime timeline? We'll find all that out and more when Temporal Investigations returns after this quick break from today's fake sponsor.
They tried to shut him up. They tried to turn him gay. They tried to go woke. They succeeded this summer. Alex Jones is Mitt Romney.
So, just how badly did your temporal interference cause this week, Jordan? Aside from you possibly being the reason I stopped gatekeeping and opened my eyes and heart up to being a more positive and accepting human, that, of course, I can forgive you for, but not forget. Without your interference, Prime Factors originally finished with a score of a 6, sitting at number 426 on our all-time list. But with your 8 and the council's 6.57, the final average score was brought up from a 6 to a 6.51, sending it up 61 spots to number 365, baby. And I can't say this excursion alone was enough to prosecute you, but now at 365, it does share a spot with the only other 6.51 show on our list, and that's Enterprise's Cold Station 12. So you owe whatever that is an apology. What the hell is Cold Station 12?
Enterprise docks at a station that is unmanned, allegedly. But it turns out that it basically it's body snatching them and using their brains as part of the computer.
That sounds dumb.
I did not like it. I think I gave it a 5 or 6.
You gave it a 6. I gave it a 6. Our guest gave it a 6. Season 4. Though. So Melanie gave it a 6. Council gave it a 6.58. Connor gave it an 8.
Okay.
8 from Connor. So we can't blame you for that one.
Whew.
So you're all right.
That's another one. Super slow burn, but the payoff is decent, but not a great episode.
Well, you live to fight another day. And if that was your last temporal incursion, we'd still be probably okay, but it wasn't.
Oh, really? This is a surprise to me.
It shouldn't be. That's not how time travel works. We'll take another short break, but when we return, we'll discuss the next time you broke time law, when you showed up on the podcast again 3 months later to talk about the original series episode, Space Seed.
Oh, yeah.
Until then, this Star Trek Wars is adjourned. Star Trek Wars is available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and anywhere else fine podcasts are heard. Join the Star Trek Wars Council on Facebook by searching for Star Trek Wars. Write or leave a voice message at StarTrekWarsPod@gmail.com. And find us on the Cesspool app, formerly known as Twitter, at the Star Trek Wars.
You mess with the past, well that's a crime. And you screw with history, you'll do the time. Temporal investigations, they'll be coming for you. Temporal investigations with Jeremy and his misfit crew. Temporal investigations, stopping baddies and helping the timeline men. The past past is a present, but you ain't got no future, friend. Time's up.
Temporal investigations will continue with the original series, Space Seed.
Working. Are you recovered?
I think you should just use that.
Put a little robotic twang into it. Maybe.
Thanks for listening to Star Trek Wars.